but he put Goliath's weapons in his tent. 1 Samuel 17:55. When Saul saw David going out to meet the Philistine, he asked Abner, the commander of the army, "Whose son is this young man, Abner?" Abner said, "As surely as you live, your majesty, I don't know." 1 Samuel 17:56. The king replied, "Go find out whose son the young man is." 1 Samuel 17:57. When David returned from striking down the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him to Saul with the Philistine's head in his hand. 1 Samuel 17:58. Saul told him, "Whose son are you, young man?" David said, "The son of your servant Jesse of Bethlehem."
A fierce battle in this chapter took place between the Philistines and Israel. And it was beginning to look like the Philistines were going to conquer Israel. Now this was out of the translation we looked at, was out of the International Standards, and I think it said in this chapter that Goliath was about 6 feet tall. I don't buy that. Other translations don't say that. I think he was probably pretty huge. You know, he might have been a Geber, descended from the Nephilim and the Geber, or he might have had the Andre the Giant disease. I don't know where. And anyways, this big guy comes up and wants the biggest, the best Israelite soldier that he can get for a fight to the death battle. And of course the Israelites were scared, and the Philistines, they wanted to see an old-fashioned brawl, so to speak. Best warrior against the best warrior. The best warrior of Israel and the best warrior of the Philistines. This guy was huge. The Goliath was huge, big, well-trained, military man. Well-trained. And the battle pursued, and the battle commences, and the Israelites are getting their butts kicked, so to speak. And out of this so David, just a shepherd out of the family of Jesse, probably a kid at this time, maybe he was 17, 18 at this time, just a kid, a shepherd for his dad, not really trained in any real military skills, but he knew how to survive. He was like a country squire. Now, I don't know, some people say that Jesse was a rich family. That may be the case. But I more or less think that they were probably maybe an upper middle class family, so to speak. And David was sent on an errand. And of course, his brothers, fighting for Israel. And David, this small guy, maybe mild-mannered kind of guy, steps up to the plate and says, hey, Saul, I'm going to take this guy down for Israel, for God, because he insults God's integrity, and we just can't have this happening. In other words, he says, I'm going to prove, because I'm a strong man of faith, character, integrity. And my God is awesome. My God is great. So he was like the upcoming star. Ghetto fabulous? Well, I don't know about that. Maybe. And then what happens? David kills Goliath, this huge, big, 9 foot, 8 foot, huge, strong, powerful warrior with some stones, and cuts his head off. And he is blessed by King Saul. Of course, he was the chosen one to be the king, because Saul you might say he had a said faith rather than a real faith. Wasn't really elected because the king line of God was going to come out of the house of Judah. And Saul wasn't from that tribe. And God's divine providence and decree had this guy set up for an example so he can raise up a new star. King David, mild-mannered guy. And he's rewarded after his victory, defeating this big giant. And Israel wins the battle. And why did David win? Because he was anointed and chosen by God for victory. And I'm here to tell you that a man of God, faith, and conviction can make a difference in the world for the better. And modern day philosophy and society tells kids, if they're being bullied, to not fight Go tell a teacher or a parent or whatever. And that does absolutely nothing. Because if you're a small, awkward guy in school, and you're probably going to be, if you're a kid of faith, a man of God, or a boy of God, a kid of God, a child of God, and you have strong convictions, God wants you, and if you're getting bullied and picked on, God wants you to go up and go into the schoolyard and knock down the biggest bully of the school. And from that day forward, people are going to fear and respect you. Now modern day philosophy says, no, don't do that. But being passive, telling a teacher or a parent whatever is not going to do any good. God wants you to step up to the plate, be a man, knock that bully down. No guns, like some of these chicken squat kids, gang bangers and ghetto bangers. But be a man, step to the plate, find the biggest bully on the schoolyard and knock that guy down. By almost any means necessary. So you'll get the respect and fear, and people won't mess with you from that point on. And I say, oh, I can't believe a preacher's telling me to do that. This doesn't sound like no Bible. What the person of faith is. Well, if you can avoid violence with every possibility, violence being the last thing to do, that's what you need to do. You need to avoid violence. It's all possible. Keep your head down and avoid violence avoid violence. Violence should be only a last resort and for protection and self-defense. But sometimes when diplomacy fails, war is a necessary thing in society. Such thing as justifiable, as the scriptures teach, a justifiable war, justifiable homicide, justifiable war, justifiable homicide when it comes to protecting your family, your kids, and your cat or dog from burglars and murderers and so forth, and rapists and so forth, because there's a lot of psychopaths and nut jobs out there, even though they still need to be reached with the gospel of Jesus Christ. However, eventually, whether you're a man, a male, or a female, you should at least learn some kind of self-defense skills. But anyways, we see in this chapter a type of Christ. David being a type of Christ. the Philistines, and